Hello, hello. Here I am in the backwoods. Check it out. Got my trusty man's best friend, Dagny, there with me. Sun's kind of high in the sky right now. I kind of slept in, but let's go over here, take a little walk. I think it's so cool about this spot. You cross that little creek and you come to, wait for it, a really cool little log bench situation. It's like perfect for a Q&A. Let's see how this works. Like I said, I kind of slept in today and the sun's kind of high in the sky, so it casts quite the shadow. Hopefully you can see my beautiful face. Not that that's what matters in the questions and responses or questions and opinions, or I just don't like to call them answers because I don't like to think I have the answers to these things. Hopefully you can see me okay. I promise you I'd take you out in the woods. And here I am, my buddy Dagny. And now, first of all, before I get started, time for some excuses, because some excuses are in order. It's fall, all right? It's totally fall. Let's just say that, let's just chalk up the summer Q&A, because it's totally not summer. I totally did not do that. Didn't pull that off. Summer was a wash, but that's okay, right? Because we got to have grace for ourselves when we don't do things. Summer was crazy. I had, as I explained, I think in my last video, I had my clinical pastoral education, chaplaincy at the hospital in Chicago and at the detention center in Reno. Stayed super busy with that. And just, it's been a time of discernment, deep discernment in my ministerial journey. And I got your questions a little while back, so thank you for those of you who submitted those. They're good questions, like really good questions that really cut to the quick. And I appreciate that about my readers. I think that's because I do kind of tend to resonate with people who are just honest about faith. And I'm glad that I don't repel those people who are honest, because I don't shy away from the questions and doubts and hesitations that I have about faith. And I'm glad that shows in my readers as well. I recently had a revelation just through studying and contemplating this whole thing that I'm not a biblicist, right? I don't go around saying I'm a biblicist minister or I'm studying to be a biblicist pastor. I'm a Christian. The Bible is not God. We say that Jesus shows us, reveals to us who God is and what God is like. That's the revelation that Jesus brought through his incarnation or his birth, his life, his ministry, his death, and his resurrection. That is the divine image. It has a face, a human face. God's imprint is Jesus. And so as I address these questions, I have to keep that in mind. And I will constantly probably remind myself and you throughout these questions that that's where I'm coming from. Here we go. Let's jump into the questions. Okay, so the first question is about biblical marriage. The writer of the question wants to know what I believe about biblical marriage. And I'm guessing that this also includes human sexuality. First of all, I want to recommend a book by one of my favorite humans. Her name is Nadia Bolz-Weber, Pastor Nadia Bolz-Weber. I will link to her book, Shameless, in the show notes. Because of this question, I was prompted to finally buy that book, which has been on my wish list for a long time. I bought it and I read the entire thing. It was a pretty quick read, so I would recommend that to you, even if you're busy. It's on audiobook. It's on Audible too. And I think Nadia reads it and she's amazing. But I will refer, first of all, to her book if you want a more in-depth view of human sexuality, of marriage from my denomination or my tradition, the Evangelical Lutheran Church. So there's that. Now, that's not everyone. I will say that that is absolutely not everyone. That is also not everyone in my denomination. So that's her opinion, her thoughts, theological thoughts, and I think they are deeply theological and backed scripturally. But it's not everyone, right? Some people have more quote unquote traditional view of marriage, and I don't want to throw stones at those people. Now, I also can't say that we can find any sense of justification in our sexuality, that we cannot earn God's love through the way we love. So though I'm a straight cisgender male in a traditional marriage, I've been married once to the same woman for 13 years. Got that number right? 13 years. I can't find my righteousness in that. Like, I can't say I have clicked the golden ticket of straight marriage and I am justified to be loved by God or to be made right by God. Unlike you abomination, whatever, like, I can't do that. That's in and of itself is a blasphemy to do that. I am playing God by doing that. And that is anti-Christian, anti-Christ, I would say. My job as a Christian pastor in training is to throw a party for people that God loves you. Two people in a same-sex relationship want to be recognized by the church and want to be married in the church and loved up by the church and have a party thrown for them by the church. I am all for that, and I can't wait to do that one day when I'm ordained. We can go on all day on this, the transgender situation. My job as a Christian is to hold the divine that was in the person and is in the person Jesus Christ, who loved every single person he came in touch with. I can't see Jesus meeting someone who identifies as transgender in a bar somewhere in Jerusalem and saying, like, the hell's wrong with you? You're not, God doesn't love you. No, I can't see that happening. So I can't hold God in that way. My job is to die to any way that I'm outing that person, any way that I might be scapegoating that person or otherizing them. That's what has to die. I have to take that to the cross and say, you know what? You are welcome just as much as anyone. And also, you can't find your righteousness in that either. You can't find your righteousness in your cisgenderism or your transgenderism. None of it counts because grace is free for all. It is given as a gift from God. Look at this one. At least she's standing behind me now. She's not taking the spotlight anymore, which is good. Again, Nadia's book is amazing. Check it out. Next question. So this question, to sum up for you, is basically about free will. Does God change God's mind based on prayer and supplication? Does God know what we're going to do? And I think, this is a kind of a complex question, but I think the gist of it is like, is God a puppet master up there steering our lives? Does prayer even matter? Can I change God's mind? Can I change the way God pulls those strings? Right? And it's a question I believe that every honest person, not just Christian, but honest person in the world has, is what does that divine look like? And how in control are they? And again, I have to defer to my Christian heritage and look at Jesus. Jesus comes to earth in the form of a vulnerable baby born to a vulnerable family in exile, preaches, teaches, does miracles, contemplates, is fully human and fully divine, matures throughout his ministry from a miracle worker to a hesitant miracle worker to someone who realizes, oh, I have not come to just create another idol. I've come to die to this legalistic way of holding God. In Jesus, God dies on a cross to the law. But that's not the end of the story. God is raised anew and resurrected. Not because of any kind of law-abiding way, because he was lawfully put to death. But that resurrection shows that God acts outside of the law, and that's grace, is a gift. So, what is God doing up there? Is God this puppet master who controls everything? What do you think, Dagny? I don't think so. I don't think God is in the control game. I really don't. If God was in the control game, then Jesus would be in the control game. And the Bible, the New Testament, would look a lot different. Jesus would come down, snap his fingers, and make the world a utopia. He didn't do that. He came and died on the cross, as if to say, I would rather die than continue this sin accounting business or this idolatry business that you want me to uphold. So in Jesus, God comes and suffers with us, suffers to our legalistic ways, our idolatrous ways, and forgives us and says, that's so small. The God in your feeble mind is so small. God is about love. God is about reconciliation. God doesn't want us to look at God as a taskmaster or a control freak. God is a lover and a reconciler and someone who knows our pain, who doesn't save us from the pain, but saves us through the pain. What really shapes us as people are those moments, because God embraces us and carries us through those moments, even through death. And so that's the way I look at prayer. Is not, hey God, can you control my life the way that I want you to? But rather, here God, you take it. I trust you. And it takes a lot to say that. It takes me dying to an idolatrous God and surrendering to a loving God who just wants to embrace me. That's what Jesus shows me. So that's my answer to you, is a full paradigm shift. It's a totally different relationship to God. And I know that probably doesn't answer your question directly, but I hope it helps. I really do. Okay. Next question. Is everyone automatically saved from judgment? Because Jesus does talk about some people being permanently separated, followed by wailing and gnashing of teeth. Could you please clarify? Again, honest question. All three of these questions are extremely honest, and I love it. Thank you all. Okay, the thing about judgment, and this was in response to an article that I wrote a little while back called, I think it's called No Separation. I'll try to link to it if I remember in the show notes. But what I get at is that from God's side of things, there is no separation between God and human or God and creation, right? There is no separation. God sees us with nothing but the eyes of love. And I only see that in Jesus. If I look at the rest of the Bible, it's really hard to see that. But if I look at Jesus, I see that. So, are there people who will fall under judgment? Yes. But if you look deeply, and if you look at it through a Christ cruciform lens, you'll see that the people who Jesus is talking about, and I believe you're talking about the parable in Matthew, about the king and the wedding feast, I believe is what you're referring to there, is the person who came to the banquet. Finally they all came. All good and bad, it says, came to the banquet. Good and bad. But one guy came without a wedding garment on, without dressing up, basically. Kind of showed up and was like, I don't really belong here. Acted small, kind of I don't know if I belong here. What's going on? What's the party all about? Do I deserve this? And God's like, hey buddy, why aren't you dressed up? This is the banquet, man. I have killed the fatted calf. I have created this huge blowout party, not because you've earned it. I got all the bad people here as well as all the good people. Y'all haven't earned this. This is not about you earning it or whether you deserve it or not. You don't deserve it. None of you do. And it's for you, but you're not dressed up. And that person is cast out to the outer darkness. Not because of something they did or because of some like a punishment, because the bad people were there too, right? But because that this person didn't want to accept that grace. That person didn't want to really come to that party and just let their hair down and really enjoy it. It's for everybody, but not everybody wants it. Not everybody's heart is soft enough to just be like, I didn't earn this, but look at this look at this. I mean, look where I'm sitting right now. This is in a beautiful forest. I didn't deserve this. It's a blue sky. We've had fires all summer, but today we have a beautiful blue sky. Got my trusty friend here with me. There she is. Look at how majestic she's looking. And I didn't deserve it. Thank God. Thank God I'm not here like, oh man, I worked really hard when I was young. I'm in a heterosexual relationship. I have a clean cut. I shave every once in a while. I'm white. I don't know. Whatever ways that we might justify ourselves, right? Thank God I'm not doing that, because I would be miserable right now. Instead, I'm like, thank you, God, for this breath, this fresh fall air in this beautiful spot with your creation, the trees, the dog, birds. Amazing. And that's life. That's what is at hand here. Not about earning it, not about being in or out, doing the right thing versus doing the wrong thing, but accepting it, accepting the grace. That's what Jesus came to bring. That's what Jesus reveals. That's who Jesus reveals God is. That's it for our Q&A. Thank you so much for the questions. This is early fall. I'm going to do another one in the fall because fall is my favorite season. I'm going to do another late fall Q&O. I like Q&O better. Questions and opinions, because these truly aren't answers. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your early fall. And thanks for supporting my work. If you'd like to support my work even more, you can find me at Patreon. The link is in the show notes. To kick in a few bucks every month helps me get awesome equipment, pay some bills. I need some new Crocs. My Crocs are like worn out, and as a middle-aged father, I need a good pair of Crocs. So I'd like to buy some of those. Things like that. Thank you so much for supporting me as much as you have. Even if you're watching this or sharing this with someone, I appreciate you. And until next time, I wish you the very best grace and Godspeed.